listening to Give God 90, where we're not afraid of the tough biblical questions, because we will dig through the language, the culture, and the history to find the truth revealed in the words of our Creator.
I wanna see the light.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for letting us share part of your day. My name is Jerry Mitchell, your host for Give God 90. Sitting in her supervisor's chair is Myron.
Hi, everyone.
And we really appreciate it when you join us, whenever that may be. The good thing about this is you can listen to it whenever you feel like it, because it's podcast, and that's one of the reasons people really enjoy them, is they get to do it when they are ready for it. As we get started, if you're new here, you can be sure and visit our website, givegod90.com, and take a look around there. Need to remind everybody, there's books out there, and if the publisher ever gets finished with the new one, it'll be out eventually, whenever that might be. Don't forget, if you like what you hear, the likes, shares, comments are open. That they call it the chat room at Spreaker. If you have this free Spreaker account, you can leave us a message there. And I don't know what kind of a week you've had, but it's been kind of a decent week for me. I've gotten caught up on a lot of things. Many of our regular listeners know that we're going to be moving probably before the end of the year somewhere. Not sure where that's going to be yet. Have an area sort of picked out, but wherever it winds up, it winds up. And trying to get things caught up for that. There's a lot of things I have in the back of my mind that I want to do that I can't do yet because everything's going to be kind of in a uproar, turmoil kind of a thing. And I don't want to be in the middle of a project and have it waylaid because, well, we have to take a few weeks and move. So there's going to be some neat stuff coming down the line here if and when the Almighty's timing lets it be. Today's topic, Myra was just kind of talking about this a while ago, and I've alluded to it for some time, but I knew I really needed to look at this. When our oldest granddaughter came by the other day, told me about a conversation she had with a teacher in school. Now, this was a private conversation, so, if you're worried about teachers talking about religion in public schools, don't. Okay, that it was just a private conversation between the two of them. And she's developed a pretty good friendship with this teacher, which is not a bad thing, I happen to have a teacher I had when I was in school who helped develop Messianic Delaware. So, those relationships can go a long way. But this teacher mentioned to her that her interaction with religious people, and typically and especially older religious women, was never good. And she said, it just seems that they always seem so hateful. And my response to her was, yeah, some are. And I reminded her of the people that she knows that fit that stereotype. Because I think we all know people like that. And I asked her to think about the people that she knows that don't fit that stereotype. The people in our worship community, the ones that we have become friends with, that worship with us, that we know, I think, quite well in most instances, that really, I won't say they never get angry, but they understand the situations they're in better because of their lifestyle. And I asked her what the difference was between the two groups, and it didn't take her long to think about her answer. Those who are angry or resentful, those who seem bitter, they all believe that God changed and the law has been done away with. But the people who try to follow his instructions seem more happy. Now, I'm going to admit something here. I was kind of proud of her. Okay, she gets it. She understands. She realizes that real, pure, true joy comes from obedience, or at least attempting obedience. Those who, read what is written, more on that in a few minutes, and then they try to do what is written. Isn't that amazing that a 16-year-old can understand that? But then again, she's been exposed to it for all of her life. Now, those who follow the empty traditions that they have no divine direction, I guess is a good way to put that, because their traditions and a lot of their denominational doctrines often conflict with what's really in the Bible. I've got 2 books out about that and a third on its way. Now, David in Psalm 2 asks why people are so angry. Why do they make empty plans? And Isaiah gives us a very dire warning. And if this doesn't shatter the doctrines that conflict with the Bible, I don't know what would. And we find it in Isaiah 24, 1 through 6.
Look, the Lord will destroy the earth and leave it empty. He will ruin the surface of the land and scatter its people. At that time, the same thing will happen to everyone, to common people and priests, to slaves and masters, to women slaves and their women masters, to buyers and sellers, to those who borrow and those who lend, and to bankers and those who owe the bank. The earth will be completely empty. The wealth will all be taken. This will happen because the Lord commanded it. The earth will dry up and die. The world will grow weak and die. The great leaders in this land will become weak. The people of the earth have ruined it. They do not follow God's teachings. They do not obey God's laws. They break their agreement with God that was to last forever. A curse will destroy the earth. The people of the world are guilty, so they will be burned up. Only a few will be left.
Now, she just read that from the International Children's Bible. Okay? Now, that's a pretty dire, dirge of a warning, practically, for children to be reading, right? But they need to understand that, especially verse 5, the people of the earth have ruined it. They do not follow the Creator's teachings. They do not obey his laws. They break the agreement. They break their promise that they had with him that was intended to last forever. I said the other day that some people will fight to maintain their useless traditions instead of accepting the instructions from the Creator. We all know these people. We may have been one at one time, right? We have them in our family on both sides. They've chosen, I'm going to say it this way, they've chosen that valley to die in because they are addicted to their traditions and to their church doctrine. They've replaced the sacred word of our Creator with their own useless, empty, worthless religious superstitions. Instead of walking the way of our Creator and living the way he designed us to live, they've chosen to reject the very word they say they represent, while their actions prove they only worship themselves. It's like an addict. They do what makes themselves feel good for the short time, but their short-lived happiness will never be able to replace the joy of someone who embraces the Creator's instructions. those who reject the Creator yet still try to claim they represent Him are bitter, they're resentful, and they seem, to some people, quite hateful. They're indignant that everyone doesn't believe the same way they do. See, they become hateful when people reject their ideas or their religion, their denomination. Then they close themselves away from the world and try to say, well, we're separate from the world, we're holy. We have the only answer to all the world's problems. If only everyone would do things my way. They want the world to revolve around them. It doesn't work that way, does it? We know people like this. I'm sure you know people like this. And I'm not making any difference between denominations when I say these things either. There are people of every religious denomination and every religion. It doesn't matter whether they are Christian or Jewish or Muslim, Buddhist, Sikh, pick a religion. Whenever people deviate from the teachings of the source of that religion, they become bitter. If you look at, and this might get me in a little bit of trouble here, but if you ever had the chance to read the Quran in its purest form actually is based on the Abraham Code. It teaches peace. It actually teaches, for people to get along. But it has become corrupted by the few people who deviate from its main source of teaching. I referenced several times that I had someone working for me. And, we were going to stop to eat one day. He said, I can't eat there. Why not? Well, I'm Muslim. I looked at him and said, well, you're not a very good one. And he didn't understand what his actual faith was because the people who had been teaching him deviated from the real teaching. I haven't spoken to him in a very long time, but I bet it made a big difference in his life. You see, it doesn't matter what religion you are as far as what religious system you're part of. When you lose the teachings of the main source, when you take it away, you become lost. You lose your foundation. Those folks replace the teachings and the instructions with their own belief system. The results are always the same: resentment and bitterness. Look around and you can see it. In the nation of Iran right now is being run by people who have deviated from their source of their religion. We call them radicals, right? We have Christian radicals. There's Jewish radicals. You name it, there's radicals. Because they have left the source of their teaching. They deviate from it. They go off on their own way. So how, getting back to primarily people who believe in the God of Abraham, how are we as followers of our Creator's way to interact with these people who obsess and demand everyone do things their way instead of the Creator's way? We live the way we're designed to live. And if you look at what David wrote in Psalm 119, the opening 8 verses is amazing.
Happy are the people who live pure lives. They follow the Lord's teachings. Happy are the people who keep his rules. They ask him for help with their whole heart. They don't do what is wrong. They follow his ways. Lord, give your orders to be followed completely. I wish I were more loyal in meeting your demands. Then I would not be ashamed when I think of your commands. When I learned that your laws are fair, I praised you with an honest heart. I will meet your demands, so please don't ever leave me.
Now, let's go back to the opening statement. Happy are the people. This is the same word that we use for blessed. Blessed are the people who live pure lives. They follow the Almighty's teachings. Well, if you receive that blessing from the Almighty, then why would you be bitter? You're bitter, you're resentful, you're hateful because you have failed to do that. You failed to follow those teachings. You have failed to live His way, and you're trying to live your way. I said the other day, we're trying to recreate our Creator in our image, and He will have nothing to do with it. Now, don't be fooled into thinking that if you follow the Creator's instructions, you'll never have any trouble. You'll never get sick. No evil will ever happen to you. That's just silliness, right? Of course you're going to get sick. We live in this fallen world. We are a product of this fallen world. You might even have hard times when you're hungry. And you will have to endure the evil that will surround you. But how you approach these stressful times and stressful situations is what makes the difference. The people who live the way they're designed to live address trouble armed with the sacred word of our Creator. Those who reject that, well, they have to face their own problems with their own empty, useless, and worthless power. This is going to get me in trouble too. For Christians who proclaim the law has been abolished, it's been done away with, it is impossible then for them to follow the example of Jesus, who confronted evil when He said, "It is written," and then did what was written. Well, where was it written? In the sacred word of the Creator. The same words they say have been done away with, the same words they reject, the same thing that they want to throw away. For the most part, they love the 10 Commandments. Love God, love your neighbor. And they forget about how to do that. Because that's what the rest of it's all about, is the how. So is it any wonder they're bitter and resentful? They're confused because they're actually blinded by their own hypocrisy. Their confusion leads to frustration because they can't understand why things happen to them. Instead of accepting the complete words of our Creator, they reject the parts they don't agree with and wonder why their lives are in such disarray. Now, I don't know any construction company who would, build a skyscraper, right? Let's pretend we're going to build a 66-story skyscraper, but we're only going to use the blueprints for the last 20-some stories. We're going to throw away the first 2/3 of the blueprints and expect that building to stand up. Well, if you look around, you know who these folks are. You can see them. You see it in the way they live their lives. How's their health? Now, I said everybody gets sick, right? But the people who follow the Creator's instructions are more healthy than those who don't. How's their marriage? Stepping on toes again. The people who actually learn to follow the Creator's instructions have a far healthier marriage than those who don't. They may put up a good false front, so that they show off a little bit. But think about that. Look at the people who live the way the Creator designed us to live. what do they, what do they do? Some of them enjoy the nightlife. Some of them get up early in the morning. Some of them work hard. Some of them work smart. Either way, what they do, they use the skills that the Almighty has given them, not just to build their own bank account, but to benefit the people around them. Overall, the nation of Israel holds, well, the citizenry of the nation of Israel has more Nobel Prize winners than the rest of the world. Why? Well, the answer is reasonably simple. Most of those Nobel Prize winners do the best they can to follow the instructions. Even Albert Einstein, who wasn't, and he admits he wasn't a good Jew. But even him, he was able to make leaps and bounds in mathematics. He was able to do things, design things, and come up with theories based on what he had read, most likely in the book of Job, because I still think that's the most scientific book in the Bible. But he understood the way the world works. The believers who have problems, the believers who have trouble, the believers who stick to and maintain their faith, yeah, they have problems. They get sick. But they don't dwell on them. They use those issues to teach others. One of our listeners actually uses his breathing problems to teach other people not to smoke. The big difference between those who follow the Almighty's instructions and those who don't, those who reject those instructions, really is life and death. Those who reject the words of the Creator actually speak death because they speak under their own authority and want to follow their own way. But those who speak life into death or light into darkness, those are the ones who accept the Creator's instructions, and they actually reflect His Word. There's a really good rehab program for those who are addicted to their own religion, for those who are addicted to self. It's called repentance. Turning back to the Creator's way, getting back to the way things were designed to be, learning to live the way we're designed to live. And if you have trouble with that, visit GiveGod90.com, because that's what the first few pages, 3 pages, are all about. Learning how to begin each day with prayer, learning how to do things His way, not our way, learning to understand that, even though you're going to have some issues and some problems and tribulations, the way you approach those things, the way you deal with those things, the way you handle those things, you know what? If you do it His way, He has a promise for you. And that promise is that He won't ever leave you. He won't let you just walk away. He'll do what He can to try and convince you to come back. And I usually don't do this, but I'm going to have Myra read the beginning part of Psalm 119 one more time, because we need to understand that it's not about my way, it's not about your way, it's about the Creator's way. Mm-hmm.
Happy are the people who live pure lives. They follow the Lord's teachings. Happy are the people who keep His rules. They ask Him for help with their whole heart. They won't do what is wrong. They follow His ways. Lord, you gave your orders to be followed completely. I wish I were more loyal in meeting your demands. Then I would not be ashamed when I think of your commands. When I learned that your laws are fair, I praised you with an honest heart. I will meet your demands, so please don't ever leave me.
When I learned your laws are fair, I praised you with my whole heart. He doesn't ask us to do anything that would be against our normal goodness, right? We're free to do all the good we can. We're limited to the evil that we should not do. Did I say that right? I think I did. We're only limited in doing bad. But we can do all the good that we can do. So, when you run across these folks, it's hard not to feel sorry for them. And it's really hard not to argue with some of them. But maybe the best thing you can do is just be a good example. Smile and nod and politely reject their selfish ways, because that's what they are. They have their own concepts, their own ideas. Now, I will come to the defense of these folks this way. They learned their ways because somebody taught them that. They probably didn't come to it on their own. Someone before them actually had to teach that. Remember Jeremiah 16:19? We have inherited the lies of our fathers. Someone probably taught them how to reject the Creator, while at the same time completely believing they're following his way. That's got to be hard to do. Is it any wonder they're confused? Is it any wonder they're resentful? Is it any wonder that when they speak to you, they appear hateful? When the people who embrace the Creator's instructions normally will always approach a situation with love. They will approach a situation with understanding. They will approach a situation with peace. That's the big difference. And when we see that and understand it, that's when we can interact with these folks in a positive way. We can have a positive outcome, even if sometimes that positive outcome is avoiding talking about their way. Because a lot of times they want to speak their way when I'm speaking Bible. And the two languages are not interpretable together. I've often said, even if two people are speaking the same exact language, if they don't define the words the same way, they may as well be speaking two different languages. And that's what happens when you have one person speaking tradition, denominational doctrine, and the other person speaking scripture. You're not on the same level. You're talking about two completely different things. So as these folks go through their lives in their misery, show them what real joy is. That's the best answer that I can come up with. And that's the long answer. Zoe got the short answer. You folks just got the long answer. But I hope that you understand why these folks are the way they are. Because that's what they're doing. They have replaced Bible with self. Pray for them. Did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Thank you for joining us today, and we will be back on Thursday.
Yes, we will. Don't know what we're going to talk about yet, but we will be here. Until then, many, many, many blessings, everyone.